Hello guys, welcome once again to my YouTube channel. It's another exciting day, and today I've got very good information about the types of visas in Australia. This information is from one of the Australian immigration lawyers who will be able to take us through step by step on the types of visas in Australia. Please, let's listen to what she has to say. Welcome.
Hello beautiful people, today I'm going to do a very quick video on the different types of visas in Australia. I mean, there is so much information out there, there's a lot of misinformation out there, and I think a lot of people are just confused with what is what. So I'm just going to talk about some of the more popular visas, give you a very quick rundown, and I hope you guys have a better understanding of the Australian migration system. The first visa is the tourist visa. Now, this is the visa that people use to come to Australia, to holiday, to see family and friends, and also there are some where they come here for a business visit. This visa is very simple. I mean, before COVID, millions of people traveled every year to Australia on the tourist visa. There is two main things that you need to show to be eligible for a tourist visa in Australia. Number one, you need to show funds. You need to show that you have enough money to come, travel to Australia and also support yourself and also not need to work in Australia. The second one is that you have an incentive to go back home to your home country. Unfortunately, some people do try and take advantage of our migration program here in Australia. They may come on a tourist visa and then just try and stay here. I mean, I wouldn't blame them. We live in a beautiful country. So what the migration department have done to try and reduce that is that they've made it harder for people to come to Australia. They have higher requirements they need to meet. So if you have money, you have assets, you have a family, and you've established yourself in your home country, then you have more of a chance to come to Australia. The second visa we're going to talk about is the student visa. So again, millions and millions of students come every single year, pre-COVID, to Australia. And Australian welcomes international students. I mean, it's one of our biggest markets and it's huge for our economy. And the two main things that you need to be eligible and to be approved for a student visa is one, you have to have enough funds. So you have to be able to show that you have enough money to come to Australia, support yourself for at least the first year, and also pay for your school fees and your living expenses. When you come, you do have working rights and you can work a part-time job to support yourself, but you are only allowed to work 20 hours per week because you're here to study, you're not here to work. The other thing they want you to show is that, again, you have an incentive to go back home to your home country. So how they look at that is, again, they look at your circumstances. So when you've applied, you showed good funds, you showed maybe assets. I mean, it's sometimes hard for students to show assets. If you show that, your family and everything is well established in your home country, then it would be easier for you to get a student visa grant. A lot of student visa applications are also refused every single year because the applicant is unable to show that they have an incentive and they're genuinely here to study. The third visa is the temporary graduate visa. So for students in Australia, if they've studied either a trade, a certificate, a diploma, or a bachelor degree or higher, they can be eligible for a temporary graduate visa, which is essentially an 18-month to 24-month work visa, which allows them to stay and live in Australia for the next 2 years after they graduate and get their work experience. A lot of students go for this. I've done a full video, and check out the link below about how this visa works. But after you graduate and you meet the requirements, you can be eligible to stay and live in Australia for up to 2 years. Bachelor's and master's students and higher would be eligible for the longer visa term of 2 years. And if you've done a diploma or lower, generally you are eligible for an 18-month visa if the occupation and the course you studied is on the relevant occupation list. The fourth visa we're going to talk about is the independent skilled visa. It's called the subclass 189, and it is the one that most students look to every single year to apply for so they can get their permanent visa in Australia. There is a lot of information out there about this visa, and there is some good information on the Department of Home Affairs website. However, this visa works very differently to other ones. Firstly, it is points based. So once you have graduated and you've done all your other requirements, such as you need to sit your English, you need to get a valid skills assessment, and there are also a number of other things that you can do to get your points up to be eligible for this program. The issue is that for the past year, due to COVID, not many people have been invited under this program, and no one really knows what's going on. On the Department of Home Affairs website, you will see that along with all the requirements, which I won't go through today, is that you need a minimum of 65 points to apply. Unfortunately, you're not going to get it with 65 points. It depends on the occupation too. Some occupations might be a little bit lower, but as a general rule, for all the occupations that are eligible for a 189 visa, you need 95 points. I mean, it's just ridiculous. The next visa we're going to talk about is the subclass 491 Skilled Regional Provisional Visa. It works in the same point system such as the 189 visa. However, it is not a permanent visa. The eligibility requirements on there I will put to the left here, and we won't go through them in detail. But again, it is points based. It is something that you need to work towards and build your profile for. And you need to be nominated by the state. So in addition to meeting the federal requirements, you also need to meet the state requirements. And that's why you hear a lot of people saying, should I move to South Australia? Should I move to Tasmania? Should I move to Canberra? Because those states currently have a pretty decent migration program for people who want to apply for the 491 visa. So, for example, if you're a registered nurse and you're living in South Australia and you've studied there, you could be eligible for a state nomination to be nominated for the visa if you have studied there and then you continue to live and work there for a minimum of 3 months. That is the requirements. The next visa we're going to talk about is the subclass 190 visa, which is a skilled nominated. I like to think that is one step above the 491, so a little bit more superior. It is permanent residence. So to be eligible for this visa, again, you need to meet the federal requirements here: skills assessment, English, relevant occupation, all the works. But you also, again, need to be nominated by the state. So it depends on what the flavor of month is for the state then. So as an example, in Victoria at the moment, they are nominating people for 190, but you have to be in a highly skilled occupation and working in there for a minimum of 6 months in that occupation. So for example, if you're a doctor and you've been working in a Melbourne hospital for the last 6 months and you meet all the other requirements, they would most probably nominate you for the 190 visa. The next one is the 191 visa. Now, this is the follow-on from the 491 visa. So I don't think the 491 is that bad at all. I think it's great. It's a temporary residence, and then after 3 years, if you meet the requirements, you can apply for the 191 visa. The next one is the temporary skills shortage subclass 482 visa. Now, there's 2 streams for this. There's a short-term stream and a medium-term stream. Essentially what that means is for the short-term stream, you can only stay and live here for up to 2 years, maybe extend it for another year, but there's no real pathway to permanent residency if you are sponsored under subclass 482 visa under the short-term list. Now, how to be eligible, you need an occupation on the short-term occupation list. You need to have an employer who is eligible to sponsor you under this program, and you need to have plus 2 years relevant work experience. Now, the next one up from that is the 482 visa, same thing, but the occupation is under the medium-term occupation list. And what that means is this one has a progression to permanent residence. So again, you need an occupation under that medium-term list. You need an eligible sponsor who's willing to sponsor you. And then you need to be qualified. So you need to have the relevant degree and you need to have 2 years post-qualification work experience. So as an example, a chef that is on the list, you need to have your degree, so certificate 4 or higher as a chef. And then you need to have 2 years work experience as a chef, not as a cook, as a chef. And then you could be eligible for the 482 program. And after 3 years for that, you could apply for permanent residence, which is called the Temporary Residence 186 subclass visa. Once you have worked for an employer and your occupation is on the medium term list and you've been working for that employer for 3 years, you need to have a higher English level, but here are the requirements just here. And then the last one I'm going to speak about today is the subclass 186 direct entry visa. So it's a little bit, it's almost the same as the temporary residence transition, but it's direct. So if you have an eligible sponsor, employer willing to support your occupation and your employment, you need to have an occupation on that occupation list. You need to have your qualification plus 3 years post-qualification work experience, and you need to have a valid skills assessment. So that is a very quick rundown of some of the very popular visa and migration programs here in Australia. As you can see, I started off with a very simple short-term temporary visa, which is a tourist visa, and we've also progressed to the different employer-sponsored and skilled migration visas that are available. Thank you very much for watching, and thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks guys, I believe that information was very, very important, and I believe it's been an eye-opener to most of us. So please remember to subscribe, please remember to hit that notification bell so that anytime I post a video you're able to be notified, because I'll be getting more videos of the same.